Okay, let's dive into the statistics. First, we'll look at Ontario, and then Muskoka, and then the big three lakes, Rosseau, Joseph, and Muskoka. So the graph that we're looking at here represents all waterfront in 24 different real estate boards in Ontario. It covers about 80% of the province. Treb is not represented here. And what we're looking at is all residential waterfront that is freehold, which means all types of waterfront, rivers, lakes, and canals, any type of access, either water or road, but only freehold or whole ownership, leaving out condos, fractionals, resort ownership, etc. And I'm also excluding vacant land. I want you to notice that this is a very small niche market. It represents about 5% of all of the real estate sold in the same area, so we can't get too granular with the data or there's no statistical significance. Notice that the overall trend over the past few years, sale price has been steadily increasing, and since a peak in the number of sales in 2016, we've seen a steady decline in the number of sales. That is until this year. Year to date in 2020, we've already seen more waterfront sales in the province than we did in all of 2019. This is the exact same chart looking at freehold residential all access waterfront within the district of Muskoka, which includes quite a large geography with Gravenhurst up to Huntsville, Lake of Bays Township, west through the townships of Muskoka Lakes and Georgian Bay. Here we see that the trends are a little bit different. Same peak in the number of sales in 2016. Declining sales since then. 2019, a little behind 2018, and in 2020, we're 15% ahead of the entire year of 2019. The difference here is in how the median sale price has changed. In 2018 and 19, they were very similar, yet in 2020, the median sale price has jumped 21%. When we look at it on a month-by-month basis, the increases were smaller earlier in the summer, but in September, median prices were 35% higher than September of 2019. Let's look at the number of sales month by month. We all heard how the real estate market froze in March and April when COVID first hit, but here in Muskoka, sales took a little dip in April compared to last year, but look at every month since then. Normally, we see the number of sales start to drop off in September, but not this year. We're still seeing lots of buyer activity and proper selling with multiple offers, sometimes way above the list price. There's always been a shortage of inventory for the number of buyers, but this year we've seen a lot more buyer activity. Those who were casually looking or just thinking about a cottage before COVID became more serious about finding something. Affluent buyers who normally travel and invest globally are looking for a retreat closer to home, so the competition for properties in 2020 has been absolutely fierce. How have new listings and sellers been keeping up with the number of sales? If you just look at this year, 2020, which is in yellow, you see a real dip in April, with about half of the new listings as 2019. It did go back up, but has been trailing behind 2019 ever since, until this month when we saw an increase in new listings, largely being driven by the huge price increases and buying frenzy we saw in August. People who were just casually thinking about selling are jumping into the market to see if they can capitalize on the increases in price. To really understand how this year is different than other years, we need to look further back. One thing you'll notice looking at the yellow line is that we usually have a peak of new listings in March, a dip in April, and then another peak in May, which is exactly what we saw this year. The other thing you'll notice is the shape and size curves. Each month, we've seen the number of sales almost match the previous month's new listings, which means buyers have had a lot less inventory to choose from, which has also been driving price increases. Months of inventory is a way to make sense of how new listings, active inventory, and sales impact one another. Simply put, the months of inventory is the number of months it would take to sell current inventory at the current rates of sales. You'll see that even with the highs and lows of the last few years, we're generally in a balanced market, which is between 4 and 6 months of inventory. Buyers have a benefit through the winter months, although there are so few sales and listings that there's not really any statistical validity to those specific numbers. However, in 2020, you'll see that we've dipped into a seller's market for almost the first time and stayed there, well below 4 months. It'll be interesting to see if the trend continues until the snow flies. For those of you hoping to buy or sell a property on Muskoka's big three lakes, Muskoka, Rosseau, and Joseph, I'll give you some details now. Again, this is a very small market with only 150 sales in the last few years. In 2020, we've seen a huge jump in median prices, 31% compared to 21% in the entire district, and year-to-date sales are up 15% over all of 2019, which is consistent with the entire district. Because we have a lot of island properties, we can further break this down into road access and boat access. So when we look at road access properties, we see a similar trend with the number of sales year to date a little bit above all of 2019, and median sale price has increased to $2.4 million, which is a 36% increase over 2019. Island properties still provide a more affordable option, but an interesting trend is that it's still a tiny fraction of the market with only 40 sales year to date, but that's actually more than double what it was just 2 years ago. Median prices have also jumped a staggering 85%. Islands have always provided good value for the intrepid cottager, and with many buyers being squeezed out of the road access market, they've proven to offer a way to obtain a property on the big three at a fraction of the price. It's about 45% of the price of a road access property. That's it for me. I'm Lauren Muskoka. If you want to dive deeper into stats in any area that we cover, just let me know. I'm happy to do it for you.